plasma trail as Dragon re-enters the Earth's atmosphere. All of that is expected. Altitude plane. And there you see it on your screen, drogue deployment.
Drogue descent rate nominal.
You can hear the crowd here.
And Pacific time this afternoon. And there we go.
We have visual on 4 healthy mains.
That view was from inside.
Freedom copy.
That
Copy,
was
600.
That was a live view from our recovery vessel off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida.
And splashdown. Crew-9 back on Earth.
You know it's JEJE Vibe. JEJE Vibe.
It's JEJE Vibe.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to JEJE Vibe. You know I got the amazing queen with me.
Thanks, my love.
Yo, it's been a whole lot of shit going on. The astronaut was stranded
How many months ago now?
over 8 months now.
Hey, Trump said they might be in love with each other now. Because, hey, what else y'all gonna do if two people are in a very small space?
Crazy.
I'm sure that they will see this in space. What is your message?
We love you and we're coming up to get you, and you shouldn't have been up there so long. The most incompetent president in our history has allowed that to happen to you, but this president won't let it happen. We're going to get them out. We're coming up to get you. I've authorized Elon. I said, can you get them out? Because, you know, they've been left up there. I hope they like each other, but maybe they'll love each other. I don't know. But they've been left up there. Think of it. And I see the woman with the wild hair, a good solid head of hair she's got. There's no kidding. There's no games with her hair. But, and you know, there's a danger up there too. They can have some failures up there that would be very bad. You got to get them out.
They're gonna love each other by now.
They should.
Mm-hmm.
They should just have to. So we have to talk about how this whole thing started and where we are today.
And still no return date for 2 astronauts virtually stranded on the International Space Station. They should have been back on Earth weeks ago. They say they're not worried that they won't be able to make it back. The astronauts got to the ISS more than a month ago and were only supposed to stay a week. Now a series of breakdowns have delayed their return.
I feel confident that if there was a problem with the International Space Station, we can get in our spacecraft and we can undock, talk to our team, and figure out the best way to come home.
Crazy. So this happened during Biden's time in office. And Biden and Boeing, maybe they tried, but it didn't look like they put a lot of effort to getting these people back.
No, and considering the fact that Boeing now has been facing a lot of backlash.
A whole lot.
We have episode on them, and the whistleblower poofing.
Facts.
Whistleblowers poofing.
A whole lot.
The reason these 2 NASA astronauts are stranded traces back to Boeing's Starliner. Let's also take a quick look at the thruster problems that has been delaying its return back to Earth. One issue involves the reaction control system, specifically helium leaks. But why is helium so important? Helium, an inert gas, is used to pressurize the propellants that feed the thrusters. If too much helium is lost, the thrusters may not function properly, which could be critical during the flight, particularly in the capsule's propulsion system. During the docking procedure, the Starliner encountered issues with its reaction control system thrusters. The spacecraft's software initially flagged 5 aft-facing thrusters as non-operational, affecting its ability to maneuver in all 6 degrees of freedom. Although 4 of the thrusters were eventually restored, the underlying cause of the malfunction remains unclear.
Crazy.
Elon Musk offered to bring these astronauts home months ago.
But Joe Biden was too insecure to let Elon, and by extension Trump, be a hero during the election. So Joe let him float.
You're going to help rescue next month 2 astronauts that I think were abandoned. They dispute that in an interview.
At the president's request or instruction, we are accelerating the return of the astronauts, which was postponed kind of to a ridiculous degree.
They got left in space.
They've been there. They were supposed to be there 8 days. They're there almost 300.
Biden.
They were yes, they were left up there for political reasons, which is not good.
And now, Biden, Boeing abandoned this astronauts in space, and SpaceX.
Fox News alert, Elon just rescued 2 astronauts that Biden left floating around in space for 9 months. The SpaceX Dragon splashed down in the Gulf of America during the 5.
As you can see there on your screen, continuing to monitor progress of the Dragon spacecraft. And we're going to stand by for splashdown located in the Gulf of America off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida.
And splashdown, Crew-9 back on Earth.
After they hit the Gulf, SpaceX rescue crews motorboated the pod into the mothership, where they popped open the hatch and pulled them out.
SpaceX's go for recovery personnel to approach.
We can see folks on board clapping as our first crew member.
And that is NASA astronaut Nick Hague, commander of Crew-9, now out of Crew Dragon Freedom. Some smiles, thumbs up, and a wave. Can't get any better than that.
When he was first elected, Donald Trump promised to save the forgotten men and women of America, no matter where they were, in the Rust Belt or on the space station.
Shout out to Elon Musk. Because for him to make this happen, it's amazing.
We're coming back before long, so, don't make all those plans without me.
I can tell you at the outset, all of us have the utmost respect for Mr. Musk, and obviously respect and admiration for our President of the United States, Donald Trump. We appreciate them. We appreciate all that they do for us, for human spaceflight, for our nation.
Biden let our country get invaded. He allowed men and women's locker rooms, let down kids during COVID, took forever to open up the economy. There was never any urgency. Inflation, it'll go away. There was no fight in this man. He let American hostages wither all over the world. The minute Trump's elected, they're back.
It's bad on the government, the past government, though. Why would you abandon?
It's crazy.
Being an astronaut is not an easy job.
It's not. Being confined in a small space. For that long. So that's why Trump was saying, they better, I guess they have to. You don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So Elon Musk is doing something amazing just for the effort of taking people up there to go save these people. Go save these 2 astronauts.
First of all, on behalf of, I know many people in this audience, thank you for what you did for those astronauts today. How were you feeling, throughout the day? I mean, I know I felt butterflies in my stomach, and I rarely feel them.
Well, I'm actually usually a little nervous about these returns because there's always some risk that something could go wrong. But thanks to the excellent work of the SpaceX team working with NASA, the astronauts are now safely home. And so congratulations to the SpaceX and NASA teams on excellent work and a huge note of appreciation to President Trump for prioritizing and expediting their return.
And we have to commend him for that. All that he's also doing in the Doge and everything that he's digging.
I'm not even going to say anything about Doge until I'm starting to get paid again. Shit.
Facts. It's JEJE Vibe.
Oh,
if you're new to the
JEJE.
channel, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Where else would you rather be?
We're out of here now.
See you in the next one. JEJE Vibe, you know
It's JEJE Vibe.
JEJE Vibe, you know
It's JEJE JEJE Vibe, Vibe, Vibe,
JEJE
Vibe.
Filthy vibe.
It's JEJE Vibe.
Moment for the country. Everyone's sitting around the TV watching our people splash down. But some people aren't grateful. They won't give Elon any credit, and they won't even call it the Gulf of America. And they're still covering up for the big guy.
Let me say something. I was watching the previous, your previous program, The Five, and they're talking about abandoned and they were stranded by President Biden. That is not true. They have had a spacecraft up there since September that was going to bring them home. They've always had a ride home, and the decision to keep them up there had nothing to do with politics. It was just the fact that you need crew members to operate the space station, and they were the two that were there, and you had to send up a vehicle with 2 empty seats. So the safest thing to do was to just leave them there.
They've always had a ride home. That was Democrat Senator Mark Kelly's brother, by the way. If they always had a ride home, why did it take so long? When I land at the airport, I don't wait around. I get home as fast as I can. Why would I wait for a train that's coming in an hour if I can get an Uber like that? And why are Democrats defending Biden stranding our people in space? For a guy who's always had a ride home, this astronaut sounds pretty grateful. Listen.
We're coming back before long, so, don't make all those plans without me.
I can tell you at the outset, all of us have the utmost respect for Mr. Musk, and obviously respect and admiration for our President of the United States, Donald Trump. We appreciate them. We appreciate all that they do for us, for human spaceflight, for our nation.
Our life experiences and this extended business trip of yours certainly qualifies. What is your life lesson or takeaway from these 9 months in space?
Well, in answer to your question, I can tell you honestly, my feeling on all of this goes back to my faith. It's bound in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He is working out his plan and his purposes for his glory throughout all of humanity, and how that plays into our lives is significant and important. And however that plays out, and I am content because I understand that. I understand that he's at work in all things. Some things are for the good. Go to Hebrews chapter 11. Some things look to us to be not so good, but it's all working out for his good for those that will believe. And that's the answer. So thanks for asking.
The Falcon 9 rocket ignites and lifts off, carrying Crew-Dragon into space. The first stage burns for about 2.5 minutes before separating and returning to Earth for a controlled landing. Meanwhile, the second stage ignites, propelling Crew-Dragon into orbit. This is the orbit adjustments and phasing. Once in orbit, Crew-Dragon performs a series of small engine burns to fine-tune its trajectory toward the International Space Station. Gradually, the spacecraft aligns its orbit to match that of the station. Now comes the approach and docking stage. Using its onboard navigation systems, Crew-Dragon autonomously approaches the ISS. It carefully slows down and aligns with the docking port before securely latching onto the station using its docking mechanism. Let's look at the hatch opening and crew transfer process. Before opening the hatch between Crew-Dragon and the ISS, pressure equalization is performed. Once the hatch is open, the astronauts move into the station, where they are welcomed by the ISS crew. The handover period typically lasts between 3 to 5 days, during which the departing crew trains and briefs the incoming members on ongoing experiments, station operations, and other essential tasks. Once everything is set, undocking initiation begins. Crew-Dragon autonomously disengages from the ISS docking port, releasing the soft capture system and retracting the docking hooks of the hard capture system. With a gentle push from springs, the spacecraft slowly drifts away from the station. While this process is automated, manual backup systems are in place if needed. As Crew-Dragon moves away, departure burns are performed using its thrusters. The first burn slightly increases the distance from the ISS. Once these burns are complete, the spacecraft enters independent flight mode, meaning it is now flying freely in orbit, preparing for the next phase of the journey. To ensure proper alignment with the re-entry path, facing burns and orbit adjustments take place. Crew-Dragon gradually lowers its orbit through a series of controlled burns, positioning itself for the critical D-orbit maneuver. This is a crucial step. carefully calculated by mission control to guide Crew Dragon toward its designated landing zone. The Draco thrusters fire for several minutes, slowing the spacecraft and directing it toward Earth's atmosphere. Before re-entry, this is where trunk jettison occurs. The trunk, which houses the spacecraft's solar panels and radiators, is detached and left to burn up in the atmosphere, while the capsule continues its controlled descent. As Crew Dragon enters the atmosphere, it experiences the most intense phase of the journey. Traveling at speeds exceeding 17,500 miles per hour, the capsule endures extreme heat and pressure, with its heat shield providing protection. The buildup of plasma around the spacecraft causes a brief blackout in communications, a normal but dramatic part of re-entry. Once the fiery descent is complete, the parachute deployment and splashdown sequence begins at around 18,000 feet, which is around 5.5 kilometers. 2 parachutes deploy to stabilize the capsule. Moments later, at 6,000 feet, this is around 1.8 kilometers, 4 main parachutes fully open, ensuring a smooth and controlled descent. Crew Dragon then splashes down in either the Atlantic Ocean or the Gulf of Mexico, depending on weather conditions. After splashdown, recovery and crew extraction operations begin immediately. SpaceX recovery teams quickly arrive by boat, securing the capsule and assisting the astronauts. Following medical checks, the crew is transported back to land, marking the successful completion of their journey home.
Commander of Crew-9,
mobility aid.
now
Again,
out of
big
Crew
smile.
Dragon Freedom. Some
Once
smile.
again, some
There we have it. Some waves, some thumbs up, and
Thought you was my black brother. Why you ask me questions like?
I want to ask you this question, if I may, and it's, you know, every aspect of this rescue had challenges and danger. The launch, we start there. Then the rocket landing. I mean, we showed. I couldn't believe you were able to land the rocket that fell off perfectly where you wanted it to land. The docking video when they actually connected and got onto the space station. Then the taking off earlier today was a 17-hour trip, leading to the splashdown that all of America watched today. Every single aspect of that has danger and complications. Walk us through the dangers of each phase.
Well, on the ascent phase, there's always some chance that either the first or second stage will blow up. In fact, I find it's actually remarkable when you see a rocket. I mean, when I see the rocket, I see a list of all the things that are wrong, all of the ways that it could go wrong and potentially fail. So you could have a first stage failure, a second stage failure, a stage separation failure. The Dragon could fail to separate from the rocket. The trunk could fail to separate from Dragon. There could be a sort of an engine failure on the spacecraft itself. When it's coming back, it's coming in so fast, it's a blazing meteor. And if anything happens to the heat shield, the whole craft is going to disintegrate. So it's remarkable that humans can actually go all the way to orbit and come back from orbit, given the immense amounts of energy that is required to get to orbit and the amount of energy that must be dissipated upon return. And then the parachutes have to open, that all has to work. Now, long term, we are going to be doing, not long term, this year, in fact, we are launching the Starship rocket, which I recommend maybe doing a piece on, because that is truly a revolutionary rocket. Starship is the first rocket that has the potential to make life multiplanetary, to make us a multi-planet civilization for the first time in the history of Earth. And that's truly profound.
What was amazing, and I studied a lot of this because of my need to cover it, at one point going 17,000 miles per hour, going through 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit. You have this thermal protection system. Now, we do know that the Boeing Starliner, you know, we know that it had problems. So these problems that you talk about, we can't take them for granted or get complacent. Explain how you get up to 17,000 miles per hour. How do you withstand 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit and the thermal protection system that protects that capsule. And then the launch, obviously, of the parachutes, which were critical to slow it down for its splashdown.
Yeah, perhaps we should do a longer segment because I'd be happy to explain it in detail. I'll do the 2-minute version here.
Yeah. Okay.
The Falcon 9 rocket takes off with 1.7 million pounds of thrust. So you can imagine something that has enough thrust to lift an office building off its foundations. And it gets to orbit. It gets to roughly 17,000 miles an hour in 9 minutes. So from 0 to 17,000 miles an hour in 9 minutes. And then it's just when it comes back, you've got that heat shield that's got to dissipate that energy. Like I said, you're coming in like a blazing meteor, and hardly anything can survive that heat. And if the heat shield fails, you just get vaporized immediately. So it's we're really testing the very edge of human ability here, the very edge of material science, and it's kind of amazing that humans can do this at all. Hopefully this gives, hopefully for people out there, this is a moment of optimism about the future, a moment of excitement about the future, and it portends great things for America and humanity in space.